how many people came through his orbit? How many people could this have happened to? And how did he get away with it for so long?
So Diddy, after the Cassie lawsuit, gets hit with a bunch of lawsuits, and then ultimately the raids, and then this criminal case.
We've all watched Sean Diddy Combs rise from the gritty streets of Harlem to become one of the most powerful figures in entertainment, fashion, and business. A man who turned his name into a brand, synonymous with luxury, success, and influence. But now, that same empire that dazzled the world is under siege, and Diddy isn't just fighting for his freedom, he's waging a battle that some say is far bigger than himself. Activists and supporters claim this isn't about justice or accountability. It's about dismantling Black excellence. Could it be true? Is one of the most iconic Black billionaires in history being targeted in a dark, calculated effort to tear down everything?
Centerpiece of a lot of what happened during direct testimony were freak-offs. And what the prosecution tried to show was that he forced and or coerced her into doing these freak-offs. And we've talked about this earlier this week, that at least my opinion is that in a lot of these, the prosecution just didn't close the loop. It was something she felt.
Picture it, a young Sean Combs hustling his way through the cutthroat world of music, crafting hits, discovering talent, and building bad boy records into a cultural juggernaut. From there, he conquered the fashion industry with Sean John, redefined luxury branding, and even dipped into politics and philanthropy. A Black man who didn't just break the mold, but shattered it entirely, claiming a seat at tables where people like him were never meant to sit. But now the champagne toasts have turned into courtroom whispers, and the glittering spotlight has been replaced by the cold glare of a federal indictment. The charges are shocking: racketeering, exploitation, and trafficking humans across state lines. Yet his legal team is arguing something even more explosive: that Diddy is being singled out because of his race. And they're using a law with a deeply racist history to prove it.
Let's talk about the filth that's starting to come out in the early days of the Diddy trial. This, of course, is P. Diddy. Surprise, surprise, he's a creep. Surprise, surprise, he's done horrible things.
Let's talk about the Mann Act. It sounds innocent enough on paper, a law initially designed to combat human exploitation. But peel back the layers and you'll find a dark past, steeped in racial bias. Historically, this law was weaponized to control and punish Black men, particularly those who dared to interact with white women. It was the same law used to convict Jack Johnson, the first Black heavyweight boxing champion, for traveling with a white girlfriend. The echoes of that history are exactly what Diddy's defense team is bringing into the courtroom, slamming federal prosecutors for what they call a racially motivated attack. No white person has ever been the target of a remotely similar prosecution, his lawyers claimed in a fiery court filing. And they didn't stop there. They pointed out that high-profile white figures accused of similar behavior, like former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, were never charged under the Mann Act. So why, they ask, is Diddy being targeted now?
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
It's a chilling narrative, isn't it? A powerful Black man, celebrated for his achievements, now allegedly being torn down by a system that some say was designed to keep him in check. But this story doesn't stop at the courtroom. Whispers of a shadowy conspiracy are swirling, and they're almost too wild to believe. Some are claiming that Diddy's meteoric success put him in the crosshairs of a secretive elite cabal, a so-called billionaire blackmail club. The theory? That this group uses scandal, blackmail, and legal battles to maintain control over the ultra-wealthy. And Diddy, with his rumored recordings of private freak-offs, may have become both a threat and a target. Could the very leverage he allegedly used to protect his empire now be the weapon being used to destroy it? The details are murky, but here's what we know. Prosecutors allege that Diddy orchestrated outrageous extended encounters involving multiple individuals at luxury hotels across the country. They claim he used his power and influence to coerce participation, while also recording these moments as leverage to keep everyone silent. But what if those tapes fell into the wrong hands? What if rival factions within this so-called elite group orchestrated his downfall, using the very scandals he allegedly created against him? It's a theory that raises more questions than answers. Who benefits from Diddy's empire collapsing? And is this really about justice, or is it about silencing a Black mogul who climbed too high, too fast?
Continued to engage in all these freak-offs with him, and he sounds really pissed off.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening.
The courtroom drama only adds fuel to the fire. Prosecutors have painted a damning picture of Diddy's alleged exploits. calling his empire a criminal enterprise designed to exploit and intimidate. Testimony from women who were once close to him has been graphic and emotional, detailing encounters that they say left them humiliated and powerless. But Diddy's defense team is fighting back hard, arguing that these allegations are exaggerated, misrepresented, or outright fabricated. They've pointed to inconsistencies in testimonies and argued that the government's case relies on sensationalism rather than facts. And through it all, Diddy has maintained his innocence, claiming that any intimate encounters were consensual and that his incarceration is part of a much larger agenda.
Referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil Astroglide.
But here's where it gets even darker. The racial undertones of this case are impossible to ignore. Diddy's team has accused federal prosecutors of engaging in selective prosecution, arguing that their client is being punished for conduct that is common and widely accepted among the wealthy elite. They've highlighted how the escort service allegedly involved in the case has been openly featured in mainstream media, including reality TV shows, without any legal repercussions for its operators or clients. And yet, Diddy finds himself facing life in prison. It's a narrative that cuts to the heart of a centuries-old struggle, the systemic targeting of Black men who rise to positions of power and influence. The parallels to history are haunting. From Jack Johnson to Chuck Berry, we've seen how laws and scandals have been weaponized to control Black men who dare to defy societal expectations. And now, Diddy's legal team is arguing that he's the latest victim of this pattern. They've framed the Mann Act as a relic of a racist past, one that has no place in modern justice but is being resurrected to bring down a man who represents Black excellence on a global scale. If this could happen to Diddy, they ask, what does it mean for anyone who dares to rise too high?
They saw evidence in the case. They immediately honed in on racketeering and they started saying, why is this racketeering with one guy? And they're charging this one guy. They had a real problem with that. They did not have a problem with the Mann Act. They found him guilty on the Mann Act. And they hung 6 to 6 on
As the trial unfolds, the stakes couldn't be higher. Diddy's empire, once a symbol of triumph and innovation, is now crumbling under the weight of these allegations. His businesses are suffering, his reputation is in tatters, and his future hangs in the balance. But beyond the personal fallout, this case raises unsettling questions about power, race, and justice in America. Are we witnessing the takedown of a man who pushed the boundaries of what was possible? Or is this a long overdue reckoning for someone who abused his influence? And if Diddy is found guilty, will it set a precedent that reshapes the landscape for Black entrepreneurs and entertainers forever? Could this trial be part of a larger systematic effort to dismantle Black billionaires, one mogul at a time? With Diddy's freedom on the line and his enemies circling like vultures, we have to wonder, is this really about the rule of law, or is it about silencing one of the most powerful figures in Black culture?
They've been afraid of coming forward. They've been afraid of what he could potentially do to them within the industry, what he could do to them professionally, maybe even personally. And so yes, it's been a dark secret they've held on to for a very, very long time.
But what if the shocking allegations against Sean Diddy Combs go far deeper than anyone imagined? Beyond the lavish hotel rooms, the endless flow of cocktails, and the extravagant freak-offs, there's a much darker story lurking beneath the surface, one that paints a picture of control, manipulation, and power wielded like a weapon. According to whispers from former insiders, these weren't just wild parties, they were something far more sinister. Some now claim the events were part of a calculated strategy to entangle people in Diddy's web, ensuring their silence and loyalty through coercion, exploitation, and fear. Could it be that behind the fame and fortune, Diddy was operating his empire like a secretive cult-like network?
So she testified, excuse me, that she was Diddy's ex-assistant. She said he her, sexually assaulted her in various ways multiple times. He exacted unbelievable violence against her, threatened her, one point allegedly threatened to take her phone and use anything on the phone.
Let's start with the chilling testimonies of some of Diddy's accusers, women who described being lured into what they thought were glamorous, exclusive gatherings, only to find themselves trapped in days-long ordeals. One witness, known only as Jane, broke down in tears as she recalled being forced to participate in intimate encounters with strangers, fueled by substances she said Diddy provided. She described the oppressive atmosphere of these so-called hotel nights, where there was no escaping until Diddy decided it was over. I just felt like I was no longer in control of my own life, she told the court, her voice trembling. Everything was about what he wanted, and if you said no, you didn't know what would happen next. The allegations don't stop there. Some have gone so far as to compare the mechanics of Diddy's inner circle to those of a cult, where loyalty was demanded, dissent was punished, and involvement was nearly impossible to escape. Did he create an environment where fear and dependency were used to keep people in line? According to one accuser's testimony, Diddy didn't just manipulate people emotionally. He allegedly used financial power as leverage, threatening to cut off support or even make someone disappear if they didn't comply. Whether these accusations are true or not, they paint a troubling picture of a man who may have gone to extreme lengths to protect his empire.
He cornered me. And then he asked me, with his arm up, he asked me, "How you doing?" I'm kind of like, wow, what the heck? Very uncomfortable. And then he rubbed his hand down my breast. He said, "If you need anything at all, you let me know."
The most unsettling claims, however, center on the idea that Diddy's inner circle may have operated as more than just a financial and social network. Some insiders have described it as a secretive hierarchy where loyalty wasn't just expected, it was demanded. Allegations suggest that those closest to him were groomed not just for participation in his infamous lifestyle, but for roles that involved covering up, enabling, and even recruiting others. Witnesses have testified about assistants and staff who allegedly facilitated these encounters, securing locations, arranging participants, and ensuring every detail was carried out according to Diddy's wishes. The question arises, were these individuals complicit, or were they victims of the same system of control? One of the most chilling aspects of these allegations is the claim that Diddy used fear as a tool to bind people to him. Former associates have hinted at whispered threats, ominous warnings, and an unspoken understanding that crossing him could result in professional ruin, or worse. Some even claim that Diddy's power extended beyond his personal circle, suggesting that he might have had influence over law enforcement, media outlets, and other institutions that could help silence dissent. So while none of these claims have been substantiated, they paint a picture of a man who may have wielded his wealth and connections like a shield, protecting himself from consequences, while ensuring those around him stayed in line.
I'm sorry, I'm just I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck during those years. You're still stuck 21 years later.
And then there are the rumors about what happened to those who did try to break free. Allegations of intimidation, stalking, and even physical confrontations have surfaced, with some accusers claiming they were followed, harassed, or pressured into retracting statements. These stories, if true, raise disturbing questions about the lengths Diddy might have gone to maintain his empire. Could these tactics have been part of a larger strategy to create an atmosphere of fear and control? Or are they the exaggerated accounts of former insiders with their own motives? Whatever the truth, the shadow these accusations cast is impossible to ignore. And speaking of disappearances, let's talk about the most spine-chilling rumor of all, the alleged liquidate roster. Yes, you heard that right. Some claim that behind closed doors, Diddy kept a mental, or perhaps even physical, tally of those he considered threats to his empire. These weren't just competitors or business rivals. The whispers suggest this list included former employees, ex-lovers, and anyone who might have had damaging information about his personal life or business dealings. The allegations are, of course, unproven, but they've been enough to spark wild speculation. Were there people who went away after crossing Diddy? Could there be a shadowy history of silenced voices stretching back decades?
Dishonest, violent, horrible. A promiscuous swinger who lied to and cheated on multiple partners. Incredibly, that's how Sean Diddy Combs' own lawyers describe the billionaire music mogul, currently facing serious trafficking charges in a New York court.
The parallels to other powerful figures in history are striking. We've seen time and time again how those at the top of their game, whether in entertainment, politics, or business, have used fear to maintain their dominance. Could Diddy be following in those same footsteps? Or is this narrative just another piece of sensationalized gossip designed to make a public downfall even more dramatic? Either way, the alleged existence of such a list adds a chilling new layer to this already explosive story. Back in the courtroom, the drama only intensifies. On one side, we have Diddy's legal team, arguing that this entire case is nothing more than a racially motivated takedown. They've pointed out the glaring double standards in how the law has been applied, calling out the Mann Act's troubling history and accusing prosecutors of targeting Diddy simply because he's a powerful black man. But on the other side, the prosecution is laying out evidence that's hard to ignore. Victim testimonies, recordings, and even financial transactions are all being used to paint a picture of a man who allegedly wielded his power in deeply disturbing ways. One of the most shocking pieces of evidence presented so far is a series of audio recordings, reportedly from Diddy's infamous hotel nights. In one clip played in court, Diddy can allegedly be heard directing participants, his tone commanding and emotionless. Prosecutors argue that these recordings are proof of coercion, while Diddy's defense insists they've been taken out of context. But as the jury listens to these tapes, it's impossible not to wonder, what kind of man records such moments in the first place? Was it about control, blackmail, or something even darker?
It was like, wow, for Diddy? What? You know, that was a person that I looked up to. He was a mogul, and I listened to all the artists that he made superstars. And so to have a chance to be able to be signed to him, it was amazing. It was like, oh my God, I'm here. I finally did it.
And then there are the financial details. Prosecutors have claimed that Diddy used his vast wealth to insulate himself from consequences, allegedly paying off staff, victims, and even hotel employees to keep the events under wraps. One witness described being handed stacks of cash after a particularly harrowing night, told not to speak of what had happened. Diddy's team, of course, denies these claims, arguing that any payments were consensual business transactions, but the mounting evidence of payouts and hush money only adds fuel to the fire, leaving us to question just how far Diddy's influence may have reached. As the trial unfolds, one thing becomes clear. This isn't just a battle between Diddy and the justice system. It's a battle for the truth, and both sides are fighting tooth and nail to control the narrative. The defense insists this is all part of a larger conspiracy to destroy a black billionaire who dared to rise too high. The prosecution, meanwhile, argues that the evidence speaks for itself, that Diddy's actions were calculated, exploitative, and driven by an insatiable need for power and control. For every claim of racial bias, there's a counterpoint of alleged abuse. For every argument about systemic injustice, there's a victim's tearful testimony. And as the jury listens to both sides, we're left to wonder, who is really telling the truth?
Unfortunately, we're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual about whom I wish to hear nothing after this trial is done.
But maybe the most shocking twist of all is that Diddy's downfall might not just be the work of his enemies, it could also be the result of his own hubris. The secret recordings, the alleged freak-offs, the tightly controlled inner circle. Could it all have been part of a dangerous game that finally spiraled out of his control? In his quest for power, did Diddy create the very storm that now threatens to destroy him? Or is he genuinely the victim of a system that's been rigged against him from the start? This story is far from over, and the next chapter might be even darker than what we've already seen. Is this the ultimate cautionary tale of a man consumed by his own ambition? Or is it the latest example of how society punishes Black excellence? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Your voice matters in this conversation, and as always, stay tuned, because in a case like this, the truth has a way of coming out when we least expect it. Until next time, take care and keep questioning everything.